The moment the cameras switched on, no one expected what was about to unfold. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett had just been given the floor during a live broadcasted hearing on media ethics and political influence. At first, her words were sharp but measured, addressing disinformation, political bullying, and the dangers of cult-like loyalty to public figures. But then, out of nowhere, she shifted focus. With a calm but pointed tone, she said, "It's one thing to attack political opponents, but when I see a grown man using his own wife and son to shield himself from criticism, I have to wonder, how far will Donald Trump go to protect his ego?" The room went silent. Journalists watching live from every corner of the country were stunned. The comment had struck a nerve. Just minutes later, social media erupted. Clips of her statement were already going viral. But it was Trump's reaction that truly made headlines. Trump was in Mar-a-Lago at the time, reportedly watching the hearing live. According to an aide who later spoke anonymously to several journalists, the former president stood up in the middle of the room, red-faced, and shouted, "She mentioned Melania and my son. Are you kidding me?" Within minutes, Trump took to Truth Social. He fired off a furious post accusing Jasmine Crockett of dragging an innocent child into dirty politics, and called her comments a disgrace to Congress. But he didn't stop there. Multiple insiders revealed that Trump immediately contacted several Republican lawmakers, demanding a formal rebuke of Crockett. He even threatened to go scorched earth on anyone who didn't publicly defend Melania and Barron. The situation was spiraling, and fast. Back in Washington, Jasmine Crockett stood her ground. When asked by reporters if she regretted her comments, her response only added fuel to the fire. Standing outside the Capitol surrounded by flashing cameras and microphones, Jasmine Crockett addressed the media with her usual cool composure. "I never insulted Melania or Barron. I simply raised a question about accountability. If that makes someone go crazy, maybe it's because the truth hits a little too close to home." Reporters immediately sensed the storm wasn't dying down, it was escalating. Within hours, hashtags like #Crockett vs. Trump, #Melania mention, and #Barron line were trending across all major platforms. Trump allies in Congress rushed to his defense, calling Crockett's remarks reckless and demanding an official censure. But behind closed doors, several moderates were hesitant. One staffer for a GOP senator was caught on a hot mic saying, honestly, "She didn't say anything untrue. Trump just hates when someone speaks directly." Meanwhile, Melania remained publicly silent, as usual. But a single post from her longtime stylist's private account seemed to hint at tension in the Trump household. Some storms aren't outside. They're behind closed doors. The drama was no longer just political. It was becoming deeply personal, and unpredictable. The next morning, major news outlets picked up on the growing rift. Morning shows dissected every word Jasmine Crockett had said, while pundits debated whether her mention of Melania and Barron had crossed a line, or simply exposed one. On Capitol Hill, Democrats quietly rallied behind her. One senior member of the House whispered to reporters, "Crockett said what a lot of us have been thinking for years. Trump hides behind his family when it's convenient, then lashes out when anyone points it out." But things took an unexpected turn when a letter from a former White House staffer leaked to the press. The memo, dated back to 2020, detailed internal discussions about using Melania and Barron to boost Trump's image during key media appearances. It was never meant to go public. The letter reignited debate, and gave Crockett's words even more weight. That evening, Crockett returned to the House floor. She didn't apologize. Instead, she doubled down, saying, "Powerful men often believe that invoking their families makes them untouchable. But public office requires public accountability, even when it's uncomfortable." The chamber was silent. Even some Republicans didn't look up from their phones. But Trump wasn't done. Not even close. Later that night, Trump made a surprise call-in to a conservative talk show. His voice was tense, barely hiding his anger. "She's a nobody. A loudmouth with no respect. Bringing up my family? That's off limits. She'll regret it. The host tried to calm him, but Trump continued, accusing Crockett of playing identity politics and warning that consequences are coming. His words sounded less like a rebuttal and more like a threat. The backlash was immediate, from both sides. Some GOP strategists warned that Trump's response was backfiring, making Crockett look more principled and composed in contrast to his rage. Independents on social media started posting messages like, "She stood her ground. He lost his." The next morning, Jasmine Crockett was invited to appear on several national morning shows. She agreed to only one, a live interview on PBS, where she calmly addressed the uproar. If Donald Trump believes his family should be beyond scrutiny, maybe he should stop using them as shields when things get tough. Her poise under pressure drew praise even from unlikely sources. A former Bush advisor tweeted, "I don't agree with her politics, but that was masterclass messaging." The political tides were shifting. What began as a bold statement on live TV was now becoming a national debate, and Crockett was gaining ground. Behind closed doors, Trump's inner circle was in panic mode. According to insiders, his advisors begged him to stop talking about Jasmine Crockett altogether. One aide reportedly told him, "Every time you respond, she looks stronger and you look rattled." But Trump couldn't let it go. During a closed-door fundraiser in Palm Beach, he once again brought up Crockett, calling her dangerous and disrespectful. He even floated the idea of suing her for defamation, though legal experts quickly dismissed the idea as unrealistic. Meanwhile, Crockett's profile skyrocketed. Overnight, her social media following doubled. Progressive activists began referring to her as the voice of reason in a storm of chaos. Media outlets labeled her the new face of fearless leadership in Washington. But what no one expected was the sudden, rare move from Melania herself. Her office released a short statement to select outlets. "Mrs. Trump wishes to remain focused on her family's well-being and believes political disagreements should not involve personal attacks. However, she urges all public figures to speak with care and respect." The statement was vague, but many interpreted it as a subtle pushback against Trump's explosive response, rather than Crockett's words. With the attention now spreading beyond politics into celebrity circles, the question loomed, would this conflict fizzle out, or escalate into something far more defining? By the end of the week, the story had taken on a life of its own. Late-night hosts began poking fun at Trump's outburst, while segments on major networks played side-by-side clips, Crockett speaking calmly in Congress versus Trump shouting on call-ins and rallies. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. But it wasn't just about media optics anymore. Rumors began circulating that senior GOP members were frustrated, not just with the controversy, but with how Trump's reaction was dominating headlines during a critical election cycle. One anonymous senator told a political reporter off the record, he made it a bigger story than it ever needed to be. Jasmine gave him a paper cut, he responded with a flamethrower. Back in Texas, Crockett held a town hall that was packed wall to wall. She didn't mention Trump by name, but she closed the night with a pointed message, "The real problem isn't that I said something bold. It's that we've normalized powerful men reacting with fury to any woman who won't bow down. I won't be silenced." The crowd erupted in applause. Even her critics began admitting, at least privately, that she was rising into a new political tier. What started as a controversial remark had now become a defining moment in her career. But in Trump's orbit, the drama wasn't over. His next rally was approaching, and insiders were bracing for another eruption. The next rally was held in Ohio. Thousands of supporters filled the stadium, waving flags and wearing red hats. The energy was electric, but beneath the surface, Trump's team was anxious. They had pleaded with him to stick to the script and avoid mentioning Jasmine Crockett. It didn't work. Midway through his speech, Trump went off script. "There's this angry lady in Congress, you know the one," he sneered, pacing the stage. "Attacking my family on live TV? Who does that? Disrespecting my wife and son? Totally out of line. Totally." The crowd booed at the mention, but not as loudly as expected. A noticeable pocket of attendees stayed quiet. Trump kept going. "I've been in the spotlight for decades. But I've never seen this level of viciousness, directed at a kid, no less. Shameful." He went on for several more minutes, repeating claims that Crockett had crossed the line and suggesting she was doing it for clout. But the backlash was immediate. Fact-checkers and journalists quickly reminded viewers, Crockett never insulted Melania or Barron, she questioned Trump's use of them in the public sphere. Her original statement was played on air again and again, and the public could see it for what it was. And then something unexpected happened. A group of veterans, traditionally pro-Trump, released a short video on social media praising Crockett for speaking truth in the face of power. The video went viral overnight. Crockett, meanwhile, stayed silent. She didn't respond to the rally. She didn't post on social media. Her restraint spoke volumes, and only added to her rising credibility. As media coverage intensified, the narrative shifted dramatically. What was once painted as a scandal had evolved into a case study in political overreaction. Crockett's original comment, measured, factual, and wrapped in a broader critique of political manipulation, was now being taught in university political science classes and discussed on morning panels across the nation. Meanwhile, Trump's relentless fixation on her only highlighted her growing influence. Journalists began calling it the Crockett effect, the phenomenon of a political newcomer disarming a powerful figure not by attacking, but by standing firm. Behind the scenes, Democratic strategists were taking notes. Donor interest in Crockett soared. Major PACs began reaching out quietly, offering support for a potential Senate run in the near future. One senior advisor even suggested she had what it takes for national leadership. Still, Crockett remained focused. When asked during a CBS interview about Trump's attacks, she answered plainly, "I don't wake up thinking about Donald Trump. I wake up thinking about the people I serve, and how tired they are of drama when what they really need is leadership." That quote made headlines everywhere. Even some centrists, once hesitant to support her, began calling her a refreshing presence in a poisoned system. But the story wasn't over. Because Trump, unable to let go, was now preparing something drastic. A lawsuit? A public campaign against her? Leaked rumors suggested a targeted strategy was in the works, one that could either intimidate her or backfire spectacularly. Whispers of retaliation grew louder as insiders leaked word that Trump's team was planning a full-blown smear campaign against Jasmine Crockett. A dossier was reportedly being assembled, old interviews, taken out of context soundbites, even vague accusations from years prior. The goal? Undermine her credibility and distract from the fact that she was gaining national traction. But Crockett wasn't caught off guard. Her communications team, already anticipating such a move, launched a preemptive strategy. They released a transparent, point-by-point video called "Here's What's Real," in which Crockett calmly addressed past controversies, cleared up false claims, and reiterated her original message about leadership and accountability. When powerful people try to shut you up, you know you're saying something that matters. The video racked up millions of views in a matter of hours. Meanwhile, Trump's attempted smear campaign fell flat. Several claims were quickly debunked, and even right-leaning outlets criticized the strategy as clumsy and overplayed. One Fox News analyst stated, "This isn't the win Trump thinks it is. He's giving her the spotlight, and she's owning it." Public opinion shifted even further. Crockett was now being invited to speak on national panels, university stages, and even international policy forums. Her rise was undeniable. In a moment of irony, one of Trump's former advisors admitted to Politico, he made her a star. All she did was speak her mind, he did the rest. The stage was now set for a much bigger confrontation, not just between Crockett and Trump, but between two visions of American leadership. As summer heated up, so did the stakes. Crockett was invited to headline a national town hall series focused on political transparency and civic accountability. The first event, held in Atlanta, drew a packed house and millions of online viewers. Her speech was firm, focused, and filled with quiet defiance. This is not about Donald Trump. This is about the kind of country we want to live in. Do we silence people who speak the truth, or do we finally start listening, even when it makes us uncomfortable? That line lit up headlines. Editorials praised her for cutting through the noise. Even conservative-leaning independents admitted she was resonating with voters who were tired of ego-driven politics. Trump, on the other hand, was unraveling further. His legal troubles were piling up. Advisors were reportedly split, some urging him to move on from Crockett entirely, while others pushed him to crush the threat before she grew into a national contender. But the more he tried to discredit her, the more it empowered her image as the one person who could stand toe-to-toe with him and not flinch. Late one night, Trump posted a string of unfiltered comments accusing Crockett of dividing the country and being a puppet for radical elites. But by morning, the internet had flipped the script. Crockett responded not with anger, but with grace, posting a single quote from Michelle Obama, "When they go low, we go high." The post went viral. Again. She had become more than a congresswoman. She was becoming a symbol. And whether Trump liked it or not, the nation was watching, closer than ever before. The final showdown came not in a courtroom or rally, but on a national debate stage. It was a primetime town hall event hosted by a major network. Originally intended as a policy discussion among rising political figures, the producers made a last-minute change. Jasmine Crockett and Donald Trump would appear back-to-back, each taking questions from the public. Trump went first. His tone was sharp, defensive. He recycled familiar lines about the media, witch hunts, and how his family had been attacked without mercy. He called Crockett vicious and claimed she had no place in serious politics. Though his base cheered, many observers noted the growing fatigue in his answers. Then came Crockett. She walked onto the stage calm, collected, and smiling slightly. "When I spoke about public figures using their families as shields, I wasn't being cruel. I was being honest. And if honesty offends someone that deeply, maybe the problem isn't what I said, but what it exposed." The crowd was quiet, listening, leaning in. She went on to speak about dignity, leadership, and what it means to serve the people instead of yourself. She didn't mention Trump by name once. Yet every sentence felt like a quiet, powerful rebuttal. When the moderator asked her how she felt about being blamed for stirring up division, her answer sealed the moment: truth doesn't divide us. Fear does. And I'm not afraid. The studio erupted in applause. By morning, every major outlet declared her the clear winner of the night, not because of showmanship, but because of strength, clarity, and restraint. Trump, for the first time in weeks, went silent online. And Jasmine Crockett? She returned to work the next day like nothing had happened. Because for her, it was never about winning headlines. It was about shifting the conversation, and she had done exactly that.